All right, welcome to Dadonomics. This is, to quote my friend Josh here, our inaugural episode. We have absolutely no idea what we're doing or what we're going to talk about, but we hope to have a good time doing so. Mostly two dads here are going to be talking about dad stuff. Name says Dadonomics, but we are probably not going to talk about economics because that is a dangerous subject for us to get into. Would you agree, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
I don't know about the macros. I don't know about the micros. I don't know about any of the economics. So my name's CJ.
My name's Josh.
And, yep, let's do it.
Here we go.
So to Josh's point, we had to have a little bit of Dr. Pepper to kick the evening off. This video is not sponsored by them.
It's not sponsored by them.
No, but it is definitely important that we have our good sodas as we're talking through things. Josh, I know we kind of started a little bit before we got on here. We're talking about all the stuff going on with Titan, and I know it's kind of starting to become old news at this point, but it brought up a lot of interesting topics with the Titanic itself. The Titan Ocean Gate has now closed, which is probably for the best, and I guess with their CEO being, let's not be insensitive to what he is, but he's not here anymore. So you had some interesting stuff to talk about with the Titanic.
Yeah, well, it's just with all the news about Titan, it kind of brought back old conspiracy theories about the Titanic that I thought were kind of interesting that I'd heard years ago. I mean, for instance, there's the whole thing about, did the Titanic really sink? Did it though?
Oh, I mean, well, did it? I mean, that's what they were going down there to look at the wreckage, right?
Well,
I'm guessing you have the answer.
Ship sunk. A ship sunk.
A
So the Titanic had a sister ship called the Olympic.
Okay.
And there's a whole theory, which I mean, people have debunked it. It's only a conspiracy theory until it's proven right. Never really know. But yeah, there was a sister ship called the Olympic that was older than the Titanic. So for insurance money, they made a few adjustments to the Olympic, sunk it, got the insurance money.
So where's the Titanic?
I don't know. Who knows, man? JP Morgan would have known, but that was, what, 1902? So.
Oh, JP. Nice. Okay. Yeah, no, I'd never heard that one before. So I know you said you had some cool ones, and yeah, I never knew that was a thing.
Yeah, that's apparently a whole thing. And there's, of course, who knows how true it is. I wasn't on the Titan, so I didn't go see the Titanic. But what is it? The bow looks different on the Titanic than what's actually underwater. But who knows?
I mean,
just an interesting theory.
Yeah, and I guess that's actually a good point. Even the people that did go down on the Titan, right? Like, I mean, they weren't looking at the actual Titanic, right? They were looking at a screen, and that video is supposed to be projecting what was on the outside. So, hey, man, maybe they got like a micro SD card in there that already has the footage loaded, and all those people paying $250,000 for a seat, or $250,000 for a seat, sorry, are just like, oh, glorious. And in reality, they're looking at the Olympic.
See? I mean, hey, you never know.
You don't ever know.
There's another one. There's another one that's a little more sinister, I would say. All right, so, you had the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And good old JP Morgan was the one who was really pushing for the Federal Reserve Bank. He also kind of owned the ship, you know what I mean? But on board of that ship, on board Titanic, were all of his opposition for the Federal Reserve Bank. All of them. All the real wealthy people who were against the Federal Reserve Bank were on the Titanic, and then it sunk. Mm-hmm. They all died, and guess what was pushed real shortly after?
What's that?
The Federal Reserve Bank.
Yep.
Here we are.
Go. Yep.
So, kind of a sinister little thing there to where you just put all your enemies on a boat and then you kill them all.
Quick fix. And I mean, I think that started to spark, conspiracies with this new one. I mean, there were rich individuals on that one. And I don't want to go into it and guess that I know what those stories were, but I had started to hear inklings of the fact that may have been, a circumstance that took place there too, because that wasn't the Titan's first voyage, obviously. So
No.
It's crazy, man. You really do not know what you can trust, and you have to like slightly feel bad, at least for the one guy's kid that went down there. I know, he's only 19 years old, and what the reason was that he actually went, who knows? Some people were saying he wanted to be closer to his dad. Some people were saying he was pressured by his dad. I read somewhere that he just wanted to solve a Rubik's Cube at the lowest point in the earth, and that was like his challenge. So either way, it looks like vanity and some of that, greed with goals gotten won ultimately. So that's interesting. Any more on those?
Yeah.
Or are those the two?
Those are the two big ones. Just the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank. So there's that one, and then there is the, how do I put it? The deliberate sinking of one vessel to get the insurance money for the other vessel.
Yeah.
Because the Olympic was older, of course, not as nice as the Titanic, not as expensive as the Titanic. So the insurance money for the Titanic was way more. You sink the Olympic, you call it the Titanic, and there you go.
Man, well, yeah, there you go. Hear about insurance fraud all the time. People jumping out in front of moving cars and, slipping.
Get a dash cam.
Yeah, exactly. People slipping in grocery stores on something that, they spilled themselves. So that's why these stores, that actually kind of makes me segue into another topic. Like, are all these stores loaded with all these security cameras because they're actually worried about theft? Are they worried about insurance scams and things like that taking place? Or is it just strictly an opportunity for monitoring and biometric data collection?
I'm going to go with insurance fraud and biometric data collection.
I would say
because let's be honest here. You go into Walmart and say you somehow manage to steal $5,000 worth of merchandise, and you get away with it. Did that cost Walmart $1?
Probably, yeah. It costs
they have
their
insurance.
Suppliers, yeah, that too.
They have insurance, man, for everything. You're not costing them $1.
No, I agree. I mean, I would think that if the issue was, reducing theft, reducing shrink, and all that sort of stuff, they'd have different measures in place for when they catch people stealing and actually stopping them. Right now, they catch somebody stealing, and then, the rule is, hey, just let them walk out of the store. Don't interfere. It's not worth, like, back to it, honestly, insurance. It's not worth.
That's the rule where?
Yeah. It's not worth, like, saying, hey, you're going to accidentally tackle this guy trying to get your merchandise back, and then now he's going to sue, the company because of, whatever. Injuries.
Where's that a rule at? Because here in Georgia, I just feel like just being in the Walmarts, they'll chase you.
Yeah. So I don't know for Walmart specifically. I just know, my wife, she worked at a makeup place, when she was like in high school in her early 20s, and like that was the thing with them. They were just supposed to let people go. So I guess it's going to depend, obviously, between different companies. But I mean, as far as I know, when I go to Walmart, even I know I've bought things, and maybe it didn't get scanned correctly to offset that little security tag or whatever. And as I'm walking out, boo, 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 and then like nobody says anything, nobody comes over there, nobody comes to check the receipt. But then you have people that are walking out with a turkey sandwich, and then the guys at the front like, yeah, let me see your receipt, and then like he's locking the store down over a ham sandwich. So I don't know. I'm sure that it comes down to the individual too.
That brings me back to high school. My very first job. 1,600 pounds, working in the garden department at Sears.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were buddies then. So, speaking of the whole, it's just not worth it, don't chase them down thing. I'm sitting in the garden department, and it's winter. We don't have any plants. You know what I mean? I'm just doing my homework back there because I'm 16. And some dude comes running through the garden department. Just armfuls of cough syrup. 'Cause back in those days when we were young, you could use the cough syrup, and it was an on-the-shelf item for illicit.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm aware.
So this dude's running out with armfuls, and I'm talking armfuls.
So were you guys selling cough syrup in the plant department?
No. He came running through the plant department to escape because going through the front door, you actually have people up there.
Gotcha.
You run through the garden department.
Got it. There's
So
the
he
one
comes
guy
running
out
through.
there protecting the frozen hoses that aren't going to be bought until the springtime.
Precisely. Well, the
Got it.
garden department, I had a little indoor desk.
Okay.
I would say it was nice, but it really wasn't. The place was awful. But this dude comes running out,
Shout out
and I'm
Sears.
just looking at him, and I'm like, I'm not going to do anything about it. This dude's like 200 pounds, and he's clearly got nothing to lose.
On a mission.
You remember me in high school? I weighed about as much as this cup of Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, both of us. Shrimps. Definitely both of us.
So this dude comes running out, and I don't do anything. I'm like, eh. The loss prevention guy, I mean, big dude, comes running out, yelling at me, why did I stop this man? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why didn't you stop him? You're like 280 pounds.
Like Spider-Man. Not my problem.
Yeah. So loss prevention guy runs outside, finally ends up trying to tackle this man. As he's tackling him, dude manages to get in the back of this old Ford Ranger and drives away. Somehow I got in trouble for not stopping the theft. So it's store to store. Your wife's job says don't worry about it. Sears says get in the way.
Well, there's a lot of problems with that too. I mean, you're 16. You're a minor. Like, what happens if that dude just beat the crap out of you, right? And then...
And if you know the illicit substance that he was going to make, I'm sure he was already on it, so
yeah,
I'm in the way.
No, absolutely. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I know that over time, I think some of their stores have closed, and maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it's some of their policies that are in place. Are they still a company? That's a Google
I
question.
think so.
Let's see.
Yeah. I know the one where I live, all of them are closed
Yeah.
here. Of course, the mall's a dead environment anywhere you go, as you know. So, of course, it's closed there, but they still have the signs out.
After several years of declining sales, Sears' parent company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on October 15th, 2018, announcing it on January 16th, 2019. So, wonder why.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I worked there in their prime,
Yep. Well,
the prime years of Sears.
yeah, that's right. The golden days or golden years.
Man, let me tell you, that place, I couldn't have asked for a better work environment.
Wait, sarcasm, right?
100%, man. That place was a nightmare, bro.
Nailed it. Well, so what's funny is, I mean,
A nightmare.
my first job was at Publix, and I mean, I was a bag boy, and I mean, I loved it. It was great. So it's kind of interesting to hear. Like, I would like to hear, people that go forth and watch this video once we put it out. What your first jobs were. If you liked it, if you hated it, if you worked at Sears, what was your experience like? If you worked at Publix, what was that experience like? That'd be really cool for us to hear from you guys. So, no, that's crazy. And it also makes me think about what you and I were talking about just before we jumped on here, because I was supposed to get a workout in today. So, having been as shrimpy as you and I both were in high school, I mean, yeah, I was probably not 10, 15 pounds more than you. And then I think, together, I think we weighed what I do now. So, and I know a lot of that has to do with, getting older and like metabolism slowing down and the different levels of activity that we were doing. I know back then, we were skateboarding every opportunity we had. And now I'm not going to step on anything with wheels. We weren't.
God, no.
Yeah, no. We weren't in the gym lifting weights or anything like that. But now you and I both do that pretty regularly. And I know you wanted to jump into that a little bit. So what's the latest and greatest with kind of your fitness journey?
So, I mean, the
Besides
routine
drinking
pretty
Dr.
much.
Pepper all the time.
Hey,
Hey,
that's
it's calories. You need
That's
calories to grow. That's all I can say.
it's an integral part of my my workout regimen.
Absolutely.
No, man, it's been pretty much the same routine for off and on about 2 years now, minus the times change, of course. What times I go, but these days, man, it's like 4:30 in the morning, doing
That's early.
Oh God, I know, dude, it's awful. But afternoons, you finish work. You see the name of the podcast, man. We're dads, so as soon as I finish work, it's dad duty.
Absolutely.
Cook dinner and go to sleep. But yeah, man, I've found it easiest for me to just focus on like one muscle group a day. I understand the whole push pull method and all that stuff, but if I do chest, I just do chest.
Sure.
If I do back, I just do back for the day. Now, granted, I work at the house, so
That
over that
helps.
direction is several dumbbells and a bench.
There you
So I
go.
do get bored and work out throughout my days in between meetings. But yeah, man, it's just I found myself like 220 pounds not long ago, just from lack. It's been about a year now. Not eating properly was one big thing, and then while also trying to gain bulk, which is great, gained bulk, but gained a lot of bulk in my stomach too.
Right.
It wasn't quite as good.
And
So just
remind me, so you're not continuing to fat shame me. How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay, 5'10", because I just want to make sure, because I'm 229 right now, and I kind of feel good about it. So
Hey, you're like 4 or 5 inches taller than me, man.
I did want to make sure that it's noted that like our weight differences, as I tell my stories, that there's a couple obvious different like build differences as well. So I think we have different body types too, as far as how we build muscle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I'm like, he's over here
Which,
talking
I
about
mean,
228, and I'm like, man, if I could get that one last pound down, I'd be feeling nice. So, oh man, so
it's good to say that CJ is a good bit taller than me. So.
just a little smidge. But no, it's also, I mean, another thing that I can give you mass credit to is, I mean, I don't love admitting this, and sorry, I'm kind of peaking on my volume, so I'm going to make a little correction here. Let's see. That should sound better. I don't love admitting this, but I don't think that I contribute as much to the parenting and like the care of the household and my household as you do. So the fact that you're executing all those things on like a higher level and then finding ways to get your workout in, which is by making the sacrifice of getting up at 4:00 in the morning and getting your workout in, that's a big testament to you. And I think that's important for a lot of people to understand. I mean, like fitness is one of those things you have to like make time and you have to make sacrifice for. So me, I mean, I get up a little bit later than you. I mean, I get up at about 5:00 and then I'm pretty much on the road right away. I do not work at home, so I work in an office about an hour away from my house. So I lose about 2 hours a day. But instead of using that as an excuse, like a lot of people will, I get home at 6:00 at night or so. My son goes down to bed 7:30 or 8:00. I want to spend as much optimal time with him as I can. If I were to get home and be the one to make dinner, like we wouldn't be eating dinner until 7 or 7:30 at night. And so that just wouldn't work with the schedule. So luckily, my wife's able to contribute and helps a lot with preparing meals. If both of us are just gassed, we'll get takeout or something like that. I like to do meal prepping to kind of make sure that like food is ready as an emergency. If I need to like dip into the next day's lunch to have it for dinner, I'm glad to do that. But all that kind of to say, like sacrifice again, right? You'll find me in the gym, and I have a garage gym, but you'll find me out there at 8:30, 9:00 at night. And like I'm risking cutting into that night's sleep, which I need for the next day, because I'm like, hey, I have to get it in. This is something I have to prioritize. Josh and I both can speak openly on the fact that like having a kid, you have to take care of yourself so that you're able to take care of them, right? I mean, there's gonna be a point. I mean, there already is a point now where we're chasing them around the house, before they can find a way to jump off of something or hit their head on a counter or something. You got to be able to grab them and snatch them up kind of quick and get them out of that, that dangerous area. So it sucks sometimes when you're finishing your workout at 10:15 at night and you're just completely out of gas, and then you're like, then you got to shower because you don't want to get in the bed all sweaty, and you're just like, man, all my fuel is gone. But then, you feel good every time that you're able to like maneuver with your child comfortably without, hurting yourself, dropping them and hurting them or something like that. So it's definitely important. So that's awesome, man, Josh. I really commend like how passionate you've been with sticking to your workouts. It's awesome.
Well, we're sacrificing the same exact amount of time, just on opposite schedules.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
When you're working out, I am passed out, bro. I am asleep.
Definitely with the time change too, because I mean you're an hour ahead of me too. So if you were awake when I was working out, then I'd be like, damn man, he's really having a long day.
Yeah. Well, before I had I won't say career swap, because I'm pretty much in the same industry for the most part, just not nuclear anymore, more solar and government work now. But I was getting up at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I
to have
remember that.
to drive an hour to the site, and then get off at like 2:33, go work out, get home, and then I'd be in bed by 7.
Yep.
And that was for a majority of my daughter's life. So she got on that schedule with me now. So now even if I do get up at like 4 to be at the gym on the family property at like 4:30, if I go to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night now, Sawyer is already passed out by 7:30 because she's still on that same schedule that she's been on most of her life so far because of my old job. That now me and her roll on the same schedule. Now, granted, I feel horrible for my wife because being that me and her are on this schedule, me and my daughter, that is, not my wife.
Right.
My wife struggles to go to sleep. Like, that whole insomnia situation where she'll stay up till like 1, 2 in the morning, which granted, I mean, I'm sure part of it has to do with that blue screen on her phone that she swipes on TikTok.
Yes, I know very well about that.
Yeah.
I get woken up at
she'll go to
11:30
sleep
by like an Instagram video, and I roll over and I'm like, "Oh, why is it blinding?" And I'm like, "Go to sleep." I can't.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
I don't know what it is about wives and TikTok and Instagram at the middle of the night, but unfortunately for my wife, she'll go to sleep at midnight, 1 in the morning.
Yep.
And then at 5:30, 6 o'clock, my daughter is wide open. She's awake, and it is time. She'll go straight into the room. I want chocolate milk.
Gotta get the chalky. At what time does she want
I
chalky?
want chocolate milk.
Right at 4?
About 5:30, 6 in the
5:30?
morning. Yeah. Oh,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Which she calls. We couldn't get her to eat much for a while, so we got Pediasure and started giving her Pediasure, and now she eats. Which, I mean, toddlers, they snack and they eat when they want to.
Right.
But so we keep a little bit of Pediasure in the house, but it doesn't matter if it's strawberry, vanilla, or chocolate Pediasure. It's all chocolate milk to her.
I remember you. Yep, that's right. That's funny.
All of it is. But yeah, and then she wants that and Toy Story at 5:30, 6 in the morning.
Toy Story
Like,
that's a pretty active movie for that early in the morning.
Oh, she don't care, dude. That's all she watches. She has 3 things that she watches on repeat.
Okay.
That's Toy Story, Vlad and Nikki, those damn Russian kids.
Yeah.
Dude, cuz
No, you did tell me about that.
I don't. Yeah, it was a YouTube channel that they spoke in Russian. They got an HBO deal because so many kids in America loved it, even though they couldn't understand a word they said.
Oh, so there's no English. I didn't know that.
There is now on HBO.
Nice.
This family moved to somewhere in South Florida, as any influencer does these days, and now they have like broken English on HBO Max.
What polar opposites?
What is it? Just called Max now.
Yeah, just
and
Max
they
now.
have 2 seasons up there.
That's funny.
My daughter watches them like crazy, and then Spider-Man. Anything Spider-Man.
Nice.
You love some Spider-Man.
What a polar opposite, though, moving from Russia to South Florida.
Is it? It's almost like, you get a little bit of money and you move to the suburbs. That's what Florida is for anybody in other countries.
Well, I guess I meant like climate-wise. I mean, you're going from like this cold, northern European. I don't want to be insensitive in how I describe it, but like to South Florida, like the hottest and muggiest and moistest place.
You have to look at it the same way. Like for me, where I'm at, and which is close to where, of course, we grew up. When it's really hot in the summer, you go to the mountains. You want to go somewhere where it's cooler.
Mm-hmm.
If you grow up in cold-ass Russia, you're going to go somewhere where it's warmer. And what is warmer and has better food scene and different... It's like New York, but of Florida. It's warm. There's a ton of different cultures down there, everything else. And now you have HBO money, so you could afford it.
I don't disagree with like the change in like the actual temperature, but I think I would have a hard time changing like how humid an area is. Like if I was going to be in somewhere where it is 90 degrees every day, but there's absolutely no humidity, and then move to somewhere that's 90 degrees every day, but is like, 70+% humidity every day, like I would be entirely miserable. So I'm wondering, is Russia also pretty humid? So whenever it does get warm, maybe they're already used to that humidity. And then maybe that humidity is not quite as bad when you've got, water surrounding that are, maybe pushing and making it feel a little more comfortable. But I don't know. I guess I'd have to go live in Russia for an amount of time and then follow that up with Florida.
Russian humidity right now is at 62%. Just Googled it.
Well, it's early in the morning there, right?
Yeah. So, but either way, 62%. I mean,
That's pretty damp. It's pretty moist.
yeah. But I
So
mean,
I wanted to,
South Florida, so many beaches, so
yeah,
much, you get so much breeze. It's not
that's
as
true.
bad as you think. It's not like where I'm at right now. It's like 80% humidity, and you walk outside and it's miserable.
It's just like sticking your head into a oven with cookies in it.
It's
But
exactly what it feels like.
but instead of cookies, it's just like pain.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pain and gnats and other things you don't want to deal with outside.
So I was curious. I wanted to go back to something you were talking about earlier. You mentioned, that you and your daughter were on this schedule for so long because, I guess that was the majority of her life at that time. How long have you been in the new role? Because I feel like it's been almost a year.
No, no. I started
6, 7
I
months.
started this new company mid-January.
Okay, yeah, so 6 months. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
about 6 months.
so what I think is interesting is, you're saying that after 6 months, like she's still having, kind of reverting back to the schedule you used to have. Because like with us, we had some neighbors over yesterday, and I was telling them, they were asking what time little dude goes to bed, and I was like, I mean, he goes to bed at like 7:30. And then my wife comes in, she's like, what are you talking about? He goes to bed at 8:30. And I was like, well, when did that change? She's like, oh, I don't know, like a couple days ago. So like he can change on a dime. Like we can change his. I mean, granted, he's not quite 2, and I know your daughter's not quite 3, but I mean, even still, like maybe it's because he hadn't been on a set schedule for as long. But like he can turn on a again, he can turn on a dime. So like when we went to Florida for a week down there, I mean, no issue switching into staying on the same schedule, even though different. Well, actually, it was the same time zone. But so time zones haven't been in effect because, we visit north of Atlanta to visit my parents pretty regularly. And then if like for whatever reason she's just going to like push him to stay up for 30 minutes longer or 1 hour longer, the next day he's already on that new schedule. So like, can you talk how that works with your daughter? Because I just think that's kind of interesting how that schedule has been ingrained so deeply in her that she's still maintaining it after a 6 month period. Or have you guys not made an attempt to change the schedule?
Well, we've changed it plenty, just like one-offs. You know what I mean? Like we went to the beach not long ago, and she was on a polar opposite schedule. Now, granted, she wasn't getting up much later. She wakes up by herself, latest 7 o'clock. Like she sleeps in for her, it's like 7. But we'd go to the beach, and she had her little cousin to play with, and she would probably be up till 10, 11 at night just playing because, of course, everybody's at the beach. We're all on the porch playing cornhole or whatever it may be. And she'd go to sleep at 9, 10, 11, really just different every night. And she'd still get up at 6:30, 7:30. But then when we got home, I guess because a lot of it is, I guess the big thing that keeps her on somewhat of a schedule is when I go to sleep, the whole house clears out. Like everybody goes to lay down.
Gotcha.
You might not go to sleep right away. Like Lauren will lay down and she'll watch TikTok or whatever or TV, and Sawyer might lay down in the bed with Lauren and watch Toy Story while Lauren plays around. They might not go to sleep right away, but Sawyer knows it's bedtime, so she'll end up falling asleep pretty quickly.
Got it.
And I think that's probably what the difference is that even though we don't all go to sleep at the same exact time, we all go and lay down somewhere at the same time. Like playroom gets cleaned up, living room gets shut down, kitchen's cleaned up, alarms set, all the lights are turned off in the house, and we go back to the bedrooms. And it's like that every night. There's a work night. And it's been like that forever.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's no rhyme or reason to that, because it's not like I turned around and said, all right, when I lay down, everybody lays down. It just like
Right.
it just kind of happened that way.
And then I guess also to your point of like her always getting up at the same time, that's probably like a true representation of like an internal body clock saying, hey, I'm used to getting up at this time. Let's get it going. So that makes sense.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is about her. Like you were talking to me earlier about how your son will sleep 3-4 hours on a nap when he's not at daycare. Like when he's at the house, he'll sleep. Oh my God. When I tell you, I can't get my kid to take an hour and a half nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she'll lay down and she'll fall fall asleep, take a nap, and it's maybe an hour, hour and a half most. But at the same time, if we leave somewhere, like we'll go to the pool or something, go hang out with friends, and she'll play with some kids, get worn out. We try to keep her awake the whole ride home so she'll nap when we get home. And she'll fall asleep 5 minutes before we get home. And we'll wake her up when we get home. We try to be, try to get her out the car seat without really waking her up, so we can sneak her into the bed, let her keep getting back to napping.
Right.
She'll wake up, and it's like she took 2 scoops of pre-workout, dude. She is back on it.
That's hilarious.
Shit don't stop. Like 5-minute nap, and she is like, she's had 8 hours of sleep.
That's funny.
Or she could take, but it's funny, like she takes an hour. If she hits a 2-hour nap, she's pissy.
Oh yeah, she's groggy.
Yeah, and doesn't want, she won't talk to either me or my wife, and she'll go and just like sulk on the couch if she wakes up, if she slept too long. So I guess she's like me. If I sleep 4 hours in a night, I'm good. I'm 100% the next day. If I, like last night, I went to sleep at 12:30. It's Friday, I woke up today at 7.
And you were groggy?
And in my mind, I was a little groggy. I was like, I slept too long.
That's funny. I'm the opposite. I have to, the 6 has to be hit. I have to have that.
Well, I think it's spending so long in the old, in the nuclear industry. Like I got started in nuclear like 22. I was young, dumb, wanted to hang out, drink with all my friends. I lived right next to the bar we all frequented, So I'd get off. I had no kids then, I had no responsibilities. I'd get off work and back then I was running 712s a lot of the time, 612s, 712s.
Gross.
I'd get off work at like 4:30.
Yeah.
And I'd either go work out, and I'd be back home at like 5:36, and then I'd go right around the corner to the bar, and I'd drink till 9. I'd get home, and then I'd cook dinner, and I'd eat. I'd go to sleep at 11, and I'd be up at 3. And I did that for a couple years. And then I started, of course, calming down. Work got more serious. More responsibilities changed at work. And I might get 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep every night. Regularly still, though. And I think that's just, now I'm in my 30s, 10 years into a career, and I would say 8 of those years were spent at that particular site, off and on. And now I can't sleep in. I don't know what sleeping in is.
Yeah. I think that, it reminds me a lot of my stepdad. He's kind of the same way. I mean, he'd sleep, 3, 4, 5 hours and just be good. And he gets up, he'll go to bed. If he goes to bed earlier, he's funny because we talk about the internal body clock, and he like almost says the opposite. Like his internal body clock doesn't exist. He's like set on a timer that says, hey, like if I'm going to be asleep for this amount of time, that's when I'm ready to get going. So if he goes to bed at 9 o'clock, he'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and then just wander around the house until everybody else gets up at 6. And then you're kind of like, bro, what are you doing? So that's what you do too, you said? That's hilarious. That's so funny. Because I mean, like I said, I'm the opposite. Like if I go to bed at 10, I may get up at 4:30 or 5:30, and then even on the weekends, and then my wife will be like, dude, go back to sleep. Like we're still asleep. And then I'm like, yeah, but I mean, I'm ready to go because that's what time it is. And if I go to bed at 12, I'll wake up at the same time. And she's like, you only got 4 hours of sleep. I'm like, I'm up. I mean, there's no, I can't now go back to bed. I can lay in bed and kind of toss and turn and roll around, but like what's the point in that? Like I kind of like it when I have those short sleep cycles because then I can get up and like get all these things done, and then I look down at my watch and I'm like, man, it's 8 o'clock and I've already gotten X, Y, and Z done. This is great. And then everybody else is still in bed. So
yeah,
I guess different ways.
It's funny, man. Like when I'm up, I'm up. That's it.
Yep, same.
And I think right now I'm the job I'm in now, I can't work more than 40 hours. But I have to be available for when my projects are working.
Sure.
For those 8 hours. So I really have no business starting before 6:30, 7. Most of my team starts at 7:38. But I know my guys get on site at 6:37.
7:38 is a very specific time.
Well,
no, you meant 7:30 or 8. It was a bad dad joke.
Oh God. But like the supply chain team is in general starts work at 7:30 or 8. We can start either time.
Yeah.
But my project that I'm responsible for, they start at 6:30. Shut up.
I'm just still laughing about
But 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 I'd say twice this week I woke up at 2 or 3. Just woke up.
You're like,
And
what
I'm
do I
not just
do?
gonna lay there
Yeah.
or turn the TV on or do it. Yeah, I come in the office.
Get it rolling. Why not?
I'm telling you, I'm like, I don't know why my company doesn't call me more often and just tell me, hey, because
Yeah.
I'm giving them 20 free hours a week.
Don't let them know.
Well, hopefully none of them listen to this podcast.
Oh man, that's funny. You know, I was talking to Amy earlier, and it made me think about the 738 thing, because we were talking about there was a really, like, it's a person that we all know. She watches a lot of like ghost shows and stuff, so she knows about like people getting like possessed and like seances, all that. I don't know. I don't get in all that. But it was like a person that she knew, we all know them, but they were actually possessed by an owl. And I thought that was just crazy.
You want me to say who?
Amy goes, she goes, who? And I just like died, just fell on the floor.
I know we were going to sit in silence until I said it, but I did not want to give you the satisfaction.
That's unfortunate. But anybody watching this or listening to this, feel free to use it. Possessed by an owl. So I'm looking at this video on my phone right now because it reminded me I wanted to talk to you about this, and then I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to pull videos up on the stream and then talk about it in real time. So I'm going to do my best to describe the video. Or did you watch the video?
The one you sent me earlier?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So for those of you that, because I'm not going to be able to show it to you, I'll do my best to describe it. It's on the Kids Getting Turned Instagram, which we will have some socials for you here soon. We do not have them yet. We've got a Kick set up. I think that's it. But as we set up the other ones, we'll get some links out there too. We're going to get a YouTube set up wherever we're streaming this. I think it's going to be YouTube initially, do some Spotify. We'll get all the links out. In this video on Instagram's Kids Getting Turned, you see a woman getting her second child out of the car. She's got 2 bags, one on each shoulder. And dad, he was behind the vehicle. I don't know why he's behind the vehicle. I don't know if he was the passenger, if he was driving, if he was doing something else, but he's on his phone. There's a toddler that had already walked around behind the mom. The toddler had nothing to do with this, but as the mom was getting the infant out of the car seat, she twisted her ankle, fell backwards. At that time, the toddler was perfectly walking behind her. Mom falls on top of the toddler. Okay, it's called Kids Getting Turned because, things like this happen. As parents, Josh and I know kids get hurt. They can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's exactly what happened. What I noticed as I went to look at the comments, everybody is flaming the dad. So I get it. Like, from the perspective looking at it, you see mom with both bags on her shoulders and she's getting the infant. But somehow the toddler got out of the car. So I want to play devil's advocate here. The dad, to some degree, participated in some sense of helping get the kids out of the car. Now, he's on his phone, so automatically that's going to get anybody in trouble when something goes wrong. But mom twisted her ankle. That's nobody's fault. It's unfortunate. And then as she was starting to lose her balance, she probably would have caught herself if it wasn't for the toddler behind her. I think that kind of escalated the situation. So then she fell over on the toddler. Again, everybody's blasting dad, so I'm going to read a couple comments here. Don't worry, Dad. Mom's got literally everything, you lazy sod. I don't know what a sod is. Maybe it's
I don't either.
European term. I think of sod as grass. Okay.
Yes.
Next, apparently he's too cool to help with the kids or anything. Next, 2 bags and 1 baby. The man almost dies holding his phone. Next, and the next thing he said was, why didn't you let me help you? Now, yes, right? Because that happens all the time. Hey, let me get this for you. Oh, don't worry, I got it. You just do this. So who knows what dad was doing on his phone? Maybe he's being educated to do something with his phone. Text my mom and let him know we got here safely. Text whoever and say that we're here. We're at an Airbnb. Find out what the thing. Nobody knows what happened. Everybody's just going to roast dad. So I want to kind of get, I mean, now you having seen that video, like, I mean, what's your feedback? Is that appropriate to just like blast dad without any feedback? I mean, has your wife ever been stubborn enough to be like, I'll take care of all this, you do this?
Oh yeah, of course. I think it's natural for anyone on social media to blast dad these days.
Absolutely. Thank you. I didn't even have to ask you to say it. You said it because it's true.
It is true. It's like you wonder why there's so many TikTok accounts now about like dad guilt and all this stuff. Dad mental health, and it's always, of course, you know, you go and look at those TikTok pages and it's all like, oh yeah, we shouldn't blast dad, or we shouldn't do this and that. But then you go on that Instagram video and everybody does it anyway, so it really isn't not making a difference. But yeah, no, it's the natural instinct to blast dad on if anything goes wrong on social media. That's just the way of the world now.
It's
actually
the
way of social media.
Yeah, it's the way of social media, and back to your point, it's the way of the world. I mean, it's normal, it's easy, and I don't want to say that everything's always 50-50. It's not. I don't want to say things are always 60-40. They're not, and they're certainly not always 90-10. Like, it's not always one person always bearing things. Just because, I mean, you saw that because you saw like a bail happen. That's why this was a video. But I mean, it's a really challenging thing. And I think that's one of the things I do want to focus on when you and I are doing this podcast is like how important it is to understand like the perspective of the dad. And I think that we're going to help dads as they come in and listen. And then we're going to help moms to understand, like, just because it doesn't seem like we're contributing as much doesn't mean that we're not doing our best, putting in our best effort, and then trying to help you, and in turn giving you a percentage of relief by being there. There's a lot of statistics that I'd be more than glad to get into on the next one, since we're running close to time here. Not close, we got about another 18 minutes or so, but there's a lot of statistics with what homes look like without fathers present, with crime, with drug use and abuse.
Oh yeah.
Lots of data on that I'd love to go into. So interesting stuff there. But I guess the big thing here is it's seemingly an unwinnable battle. If you're not helping enough, then you're obviously the bad guy. If you're helping too much, then you're saying that you don't think that your partner is valuable enough to carry any weight in that relationship. If you're too strict on your child, you're not nurturing. If you're too nurturing, you're not disciplinarian enough to make sure that they're a valuable member in society. So fortunately for me, I'm sure that you guys are on the same page because you and I get along and have really similar values. So I think that they probably carry over. But my wife and I have had a lot of conversations and have a good understanding on where each of our roles are in the marriage and in parenting. And it's funny because I am typically the one that's a little more strict and is saying, hey, don't do this, don't do that, interrupting when things are starting to get out of hand. And lately, my son's been paying a lot more attention to me. And then so, she's like, oh, that's kind of funny. He's your favorite. She's like, remember, he's the one that's telling you do this, don't do this, don't do this. So it just goes to show, I think that humans in general need some level of guidance. They need some level of direction. So like having a parent that's telling you do this, don't do this, isn't a bad thing. Telling you to stifle some emotions and then to express some emotions, I think is important too. I do a lot of compartmentalization, and a lot of times that's viewed as being insensitive, or it's viewed as being like a dick or an asshole or a prick or something like that. But I'm like, in reality, what I'm doing protects me, and honestly, it protects you at the end of the day. It makes it to where I'm more valuable in making sure that you're safe, to make sure that you're supported in the way that you need to be supported. So I just think it's kind of interesting. It's a double-edged sword for sure, and like finding a way to walk that line has been a challenge for me as a person, and then has been even more challenging as a father.
Oh yeah. Well, I think as far as percentages go in households, every house is different, and success looks different in every house.
Absolutely.
So like the way that things run here at my house is different than how things run at your house. Same morals, same values, but with time constrictions for each one of the parents, and responsibilities for each. Like my wife stays at home. I guess hell, I stay at home too, but I'm in my office.
Yeah, now that's nice though.
But I work in my office, so I go out of my office, especially because my daughter knocks on the door 18 times a day to show me new outfits she put on.
Nice.
I know everyone in the Zoom meetings I'm in can hear her. But success for my house looks much different than success for your house. Just like success in your house looks much different than success in whoever is listening to this podcast.
Sure.
But I think, which this might segue into something completely different. I think a good thing and one of the worst things that have happened for modern day, let's just say dadding and parenting and parenting in general is social media in general.
100%.
I mean, of course, you could find good things like us, for instance, or there's a couple good TikTokers that I've found who talk about things and make things more relatable to you and are much more realistic with parenting. And then you find the people who have 14 million followers who have the perfect life, and they show that they're the perfect parents. And every time I watch one of those videos, and then you have the people who just became parents, or they might be like 19 or 20, who see that and think that's what I'm supposed to be doing as a parent right now, but I can't afford it. I can't do this. My life's not there yet, so I'm a bad parent.
Right, and they're overwhelmed with what you were talking about earlier, parent guilt.
Yeah, and in reality, the people that are putting themselves out there as perfect parents have probably the shittiest life out of anyone listening to this podcast right now.
Do you have
Their
any
entire
examples?
life. I have no good examples because I just skip past all of them. I try not to pay attention to any of them. You see them though. You scroll through TikTok, or you can look at fucking YouTube. You see any of them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I wish I could think of one right now, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So next time I see one, I'll make sure I share it with you or I save it, and then we'll bring it up next time.
I'm about to say, if I see one, I'll save it for sure. But you know those people, especially the ones that are making a living off of their parenting life,
exploiting their kids.
Yeah, they have a camera in their fucking kid's face 20 hours a day.
Yeah. If
and then if your kid messes your take up, are you gonna take it out on yourself, or are you gonna take it out on your kid? Why did you mess that up?
Right, redo it. Go back and do it again. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say this now. I think that throughout the longevity of this, depending on how long we do, this podcast, if it evolves into something else, if it's something that lasts for, 10 years, and then there becomes a point where my son says, hey, I'm interested in being on there and telling my perspective, how I view you as a dad. I think that'd be a very proud moment for me, because it'd be an opportunity for him to express what he's experienced. I think that'd be really neat, to see like how my influence has resulted in developing a young human being. But if that word is never spoken to me, I can guarantee you right now on the spot that the only time you will ever see him on this podcast is if he accidentally walks into here for a second and then turns around and leaves. Like, I have no intention
100%.
of bringing him on here and exploiting like what, his experiences are just to get more clicks or more views. I think that's insane. And the amount of people that do that is astronomical.
Yep, I 100% agree.
It's the new version of pageantry moms. That's all it is. Instead of entering him into a beauty contest, you're putting him on social media.
Yes.
So
get ready with me and my kid. That's like
that's weird. Get ready with me and my kid. Is that a thing? Have you seen? Oh my god.
Oh my god, yes, it's a thing. Watch
me dress my child.
Watch me look at her cute outfit. We're gonna choose between these. Which ones do you want? Like the kid wasn't told which one to pick.
Right. I find that strange. I find that very strange.
I find. Look, I understand like Facebook. Of course, my wife posts our kid on her Facebook all the time. I don't have Facebook, so I don't post my kid on shit.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I get it. You have Facebook, you're gonna post your kid on Facebook, blah blah. What I don't get is when you have an Instagram for your kid, or you have a TikTok page where every fucking video on your TikTok is your kid. And if you hit that 1 million subscribers, are you putting that money that you're making into your kid's account, or is that what you're living off of now?
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I was in the beginning very, very intentional and specific about, what I wanted and what my expectations were for his presence on social media. And I mean, that was overruled. So again, it's another example of, who says what in the relationship and then gets those rights. Like, that right for me was devalued by another individual's, but there's nothing that says that I can go back and say, no, you're not allowed to, because at the end of the day, she's the parent as well. But that's just kind of speaking back to what I said, dad gets flamed for a lot of stuff, but ultimately I was the one that was interested in protecting that from being distributed all over the internet. But again, that's not to bash neither here or there, but I don't see the value in not giving your child the opportunity to make their own decisions and to be represented in any light on any sort of face of the internet, knowing how permanent and irreparable that is.
But growing up, like when we grew up.
Oh, thank God there wasn't
mom
Snapchat or Instagram or anything like that, man. We'd have gotten into so much trouble. We'd be so embarrassed. We'd be like the new Blippy. You know about Blippy, right?
Oh God, yeah, I know.
Sorry, Blippy.
I know.
Sorry, Stevie. We still love Blippy in this house.
Hey, my kid still watches Blippy too. It's a thing.
It's a good show.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah. Bluey's a better one. If we're going off shows that start with the B, they're not related whatsoever, but
and end with an E.
That's fair.
Is it? Is it a Y or an I?
Well, Blippy's an I think.
Bluey's a Y.
Yep.
But they both sound like E's.
But like growing up, what we did
some good Dr. Pepper.
The most our moms pushed our images everywhere was if she had a picture in her purse.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you were my mom,
scrapbooks.
If you were my mom,
inside of a piñata,
you were accused of trafficking a child because I had blonde hair, blue eyes, and my mom's Mexican.
Wait, when you were born?
Yeah. Until my hair turned this color. I was blonde hair, blue eyes.
What color is your dad's hair?
Is white.
Well, now.
No, he was the same way I was. He was a blonde hair, blue eye, and then it darkened.
Gotcha.
And then now it reverted to white. But yeah, my mom, dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin, and then me walking around looking like
an Austrian painter.
Aryan child.
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent.
I heard that story so many times about people asking my mom if that's their kid or do I need help. It's like, no, that's my mom.
Yeah, it's a similar thing for my son and I. My wife and I's hair is both dark. She has light eyes, but for him to come out with light eyes and light hair, we're kind of like, he looked different, but
recessive genes, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
But it's undeniable whenever you see it. Like, everybody can see us now together and be like, yeah, facial expressions, he looks just like me. Like eyes, kind of nose, that kind of thing. He's got a lot of the same facial features. So I don't get that kind of look now that he's grown into his facial features. They're like, oh, yeah, that's his kid. So
yeah. My daughter is my little twin. So
spitting image.
Yeah, I could never say it's not mine.
Right. Oh, man.
But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, back to that video though. I will say that one thing I think that relationship is obviously missing is valuable communication, or they have perfect communication, and there's no way to determine that from that video. So one of two things are happening. They have a set schedule, they have a set way of doing things where they know what each person needs to do to get their kids into the house, or the wife isn't communicating what she wants. So when my wife and I are getting home and we're ready to get the kid out of the car and there's groceries in the car, she'll look over at me and she'll be like, hey, will you grab X, Y, and Z? I'll grab our son, and I'm going to grab this bag and this bag. Like, I don't think that it's required that she do that, but I will admit that I can be aloof as well, like seemingly in that video, like that dad was. Like, there's things that I'm already looking at, or I'm getting out of the house and I'm first thing I'm doing is looking at the yard to see how green and great my grass looks. Shout out to my irrigation guy. And I may not be focusing on getting like one or two items, and then we may get back into the house and then she's like, where's this? And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to get that. So it's helpful now that she takes the time to say, hey, get this, I'll get him, I'll get this bag, I'll get this. And then we get all those things and then there's no problem. But God forbid I got, one bag and she wanted to get two bags and the kid, and then she fell down and it was caught on my Ring camera, and then I get blasted all over social media for it. So I think it's important that we hear the whole story before we make our own assumptions. But
I think what's really important to understand and to grasp about that video, as well as 80% of what gets pushed on the internet that people blast one person for. Context.
Mm-hmm.
6-second video that probably had a minute and a half of time around it.
Right.
Of context.
100%.
I mean, you just see the mom twist her ankle, fall on top of the toddler. That's all you see with her at the bags, and you see the dad on the other side. You don't see the minute before that. You don't see the minute after. You don't see the context whatsoever.
Right.
So all you see is that little bit, and of course, everybody loves to just take that little bit and post it to get the reactions they want. It's just, I mean, you could take any video. I mean, you could even look at, I'm not going to say that person's name because that seems to be a trigger for a lot of people. There's a particular person on the internet where everybody loves to clip 8 seconds of what they say just to prove a point of what they want to say. You could take anything out of context.
Absolutely.
So you could take just a little short video of her falling, but not any of the conversations that occurred before. Like you were saying, I'm sure it was it might not have been, and that's on them for not communicating,
right,
as a couple. Or there could have been communication, but all you saw was the fall.
Right.
So,
and you decided to be Dr. Phil and dig into their whole marriage and become the expert. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's nuts.
You don't even know their first name. And
but so it's so it's funny is as I was kind of looking through, I actually saw a comment that provided some context, and so I'm going to read that comment. Ooh. And then on top of that, I'm going to read some of the responses. So comment says, I saw the original. The woman who posted it said she was handling the kids while her husband was using his phone to unlock their garage door. He wasn't just scrolling through Insta willy-nilly. So he's doing something. He's been tasked with, hey, I'll get the kids. Maybe in this instance, the wife doesn't know how to use the app, didn't set it up, doesn't have it on her phone, whatever the reason may be. In our household, I asked my wife to open up the front door. We have one of the smartphone, door lock things. She's like, I don't have it on my phone because she got a new phone, didn't download all the apps. So I was like, okay, cool. So I did it. So prime example, right? Here comes some replies.
Part of me was really thinking earlier about Bluetooth garage or Bluetooth something else, and I was like, that's a possibility.
Yeah. So that was the context given.
So what are the comments?
Oh no, gotta push button. I can do nothing else. Who says the wife didn't ask him just to focus on that task? Take a minute to connect. Good advice for that man and his family. He could have held the hand of the toddler or the bags. Mom had them on her shoulders, which he could have done while doing that. Next comment. Oh no, have to pushy a button. So hard. Can't hold a bag or keep child on hand. Life's so hard. Give me a fucking break. Who are you to make that determination and assumption that wasn't,
I'll tell you,
his specific direction?
They're probably someone who doesn't have kids.
Okay.
Who are just throwing their 2 cents on a situation they don't understand.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see this. There's actually a couple here. It says, because technology always loads and works exactly when you need it to. Their fault for not coming up with a better game plan. So this guy's just straight up blaming both of them. So that's awesome.
I can respect that.
But, my comment, so, I wasn't going to go into my comment, but you kind of led into it perfectly by saying they're probably not people that have kids. I didn't say anything about that, but I do definitely want to acknowledge the circumstance. So my response was, I'm sure everyone here commenting has a perfect system to make sure the tasks are perfectly divided every time and neither of them ever slips. There's so many things that took place in that video that are, it doesn't matter. Like, things happen, mistakes happen, issues come up. It's just the opportunity to yell and get mad and blame somebody else and have your important 2 seconds on the internet of how valuable your opinion was it's excessive, it's obnoxious, it's extraneous. So.
I guarantee you, after post video, the additional 2 minutes that occurred after said video of what you saw, at least, neither of them, I'm sure the wife didn't get on to him, why didn't you help me with these bags? I'm sure it was just, let's get the toddler up, let's get the rest of everything inside, put this down, life goes on. But the keyboard warriors, bro, they have to start a war.
Absolutely. There's another piece that I kind of speculated from the video. So right as all that happens, mom topples over on top of the toddler while holding the infant. The dad kind of pauses and he looks and he's assessing. So a lot of people are probably like, oh, he's not doing anything, he's not helping. But he had to look at his wife and determine she was okay. Look at his infant, determine that child was okay, and look at his toddler and then see if she was okay. And then after a brief assessment, went to the toddler, realized at that point the wife is okay. And he helped the toddler, and he gave her a hug and was starting to calm her down. Video cuts off immediately, of course, so we don't know how much time he spent comforting the child. But that was another important thing as a parent that you don't get to just worry about yourself. You don't get to just worry about your spouse. You have to analyze your spouse, your child, and make all of these decisions in a split moment to determine what's the most valuable. It's just like in the military when we learned about training and self-aid buddy care and like catastrophe responses. Is you have to analyze everything and make the quickest response to see what's going to have the biggest effect. If you see a threat that's happened and somebody's on the ground and you know that person is going to die, you know by looking at it that person's life is over. It may not be over for 10 minutes, but you know there's no saving that person. And then there's a guy next to them who has his leg completely blown off, who if you don't respond is going to bleed out. Otherwise, he's going to live and he's going to keep his leg. You have to make that shitty decision that says, I have to give my aid to this person that I know is going to live. It's not that dramatic when somebody falls over in their driveway, but I mean, it's important to realize
same thought process.
Yeah, I mean, these are challenges that dads and moms alike have to face. It's not as simple as just being like, oh, that's my favorite kid, or that kid's fine. We're just, you have to make those decisions. So there was a lot that went into that video. I think it's a great video for us to step back as humans and like really understand, and not just be like, oh, dad's not doing anything. Let's focus on everything that took place. We also don't know if they went inside to the house and dad immediately grabbed a bag of frozen peas and gave it to his wife's ankle. We don't know if he went inside and called her a clumsy asshole and then yelled at her. We don't know what happened. We don't know how bad or how good it is. Nobody does. So,
yeah.
Well,
context is important.
Context is key. Well, I think this has been a lot of fun. I think we've covered some pretty cool topics. I'm excited to see what you guys, the viewers, thought, what your feedback is. If you want, go check out the video on Instagram. We will get you some links on our social medias sooner than later. I do promise that. Josh, any closing thoughts?
Well, I know here soon we'll have some guests on, do more dad talk with other dads, and maybe in the near future, do some mom talk with the moms.
Trying to get the moms on board.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a good first episode, and I appreciate everybody listening.
Absolutely. All right, guys, until the next one.